good. All right, I'm going to do page 55.
Okay, something I just noticed when I'm editing this video. Did you see the way Taylor jumped when that woman approached her? I know nothing about ashrams and chanting and all that. I don't even know what they're singing about, what they're talking about. But Taylor seemed a little discombobulated. She didn't know what page. I don't know what they were laughing about. She was reading from page 55. They're chanting a while, and then maybe the woman thought she needed some help. She, approaches Taylor and it's kind of like, ooh, and Taylor like jumps and jumps, and maybe she wasn't aware that woman was there, and she's kind of like, whoa. But I just noticed that when I'm editing. Okay, carry on. You'll see the whole rest of the video I filmed earlier now. But wow, what do you think? Why did she jump like that? Did Taylor not like to be touched? What's up with that? And the woman was all like all over her. This is getting weirder. Okay, carry forth. So was that Taylor Casey's last video on June 17th? Or are there more videos of Taylor down at this Sevananda Ashram yoga retreat? Apparently she'd been down there for quite a while, nearly the entire month of June. So what happened on June 18th? And most specifically, what happened on June 19th? I believe that's the last time she was seen, but I haven't found her yet in any other videos with the retreat going live. That's the first time I heard her voice in that video, even though I told some people I'm not doing any more videos about it because of all the backlash I got from my first video about Taylor. My main focus is that God is love. I'm sure he wants Taylor found. I'm sure God wants Taylor's mom to have peace of heart and mind in knowing what happened to Taylor. The thing that gets me is the police commissioner Clayton Fernander. He recently gave a press conference yesterday, so today is Tuesday, July 9th. This presser happened on Monday, July 8th.
We also mobilized an extensive search with a number of officers, not K9. This you see on the screen is officers from the Marine who spend the entire day checking the harbor and even beyond the harbor. We also looked at aerial search with respect to drone technology. Spend the entire day moving about in the harbor. We also had the assistance of K9, spend the entire day on the 22nd in that area. They picked up a scent and it just led from the tent right to the sea side of it. On the 3rd of July, 2024, we also had the assistance of the drones, underwater drones from the Defense Force, and they spent about half a day, the drones underwater. Very impressive, and move around, especially in the general area where the phone was located. And even further, they took to see the area, the general area where the phone was found. They even widened the search, and they came up negative with any additional information.
Commissioner Clayton said that back on June 22nd, in that area, he doesn't really give specifics. He said they were working with a K9, underwater drones, I guess in-the-air drones, all these different means of searching for missing persons. He said on the 22nd, in that area, they picked up a scent and it just led from the tent, I'm assuming he means Taylor's tent, right to the seaside of it. I wish he would have been a lot more specific. I like specifics, and maybe he's just choosing his words carefully. I don't know. The canine, did they give the canine a piece of Taylor's clothing like they normally would do? Say, sniff this and see if the canine tracked Taylor's scent specifically from the tent to the seaside, and that's it. Now, apparently they found Taylor's phone 50 feet down in the water, 50 feet deep, which is pretty deep, which is pretty far out there. They've used underwater drones from the Defense Force on July 3rd. There's still so much controversy over this case. But my main focus is, yes, I hope they find Taylor. I hope they can get the FBI involved. I hope they can get more resources. Even if it is just what part of my mind thinks it might be just a terrible accident. Maybe late on June 19th, the last time Taylor was seen. Did she decide to wander out to the seaside, the seashore? Was it rough surf that night? And did an accident happen? Did she just get caught up in a riptide and swept out to sea and swept out in the darkness? We don't know. I think about the time, though, I did visit Paradise Island, that huge hotel right there. It was in October, though, back in 1996. The seas were so rough. The water was so choppy. I heard a lifeguard walking past me. He was talking to someone else. He looked at the water and he said, "I don't go in when it's that rough." And I said to myself, okay, if a lifeguard is saying, it's a lifeguard, he's telling someone else he's not going in the water, I know I'm not going in the water. I don't even know if we kind of laid out on the beach. It's been so long ago. I mean, almost 30 years ago. I don't even know if we laid out on the beach. That's how rough the water was. But of course, again, that was October. Taylor has gone missing June 19th, the last time she was seen. But there's a new troubling interview. Thank God that Brian Enton is staying on this. He interviewed once again Taylor's mom and her friend. And this time, Taylor's mom, her name is Colette Seymour, and her family friend, Emily Williams, talked to News Nation's Brian Enton. Colette tells Brian, yes, she's a polite woman. She spoke with authorities down there. She thanked them for everything they were doing, for Taylor, of course. But that doesn't mean she was pleased with the way things were handled. We saw it from the beginning, this case. There weren't enough, or if any, missing persons posters of Taylor up. A lot of people didn't know she was missing. Controversy. People think it's a money thing. Of course, the Ashram doesn't want to be blamed. I don't necessarily like the defensive statement they put out either, the Ashram. We'll go over that. But Colette finally said, my idea really saddens me. When I think about it, I feel like my child had two strikes against her when she went to the yoga retreat. One is that she's black, and the other is that she's transgender. So this has really whipped up the responses and the controversy, because some people are thinking, what do you mean she's black? You know, most of the Bahamas are black, but folks are saying, well, most folks at the Ashram are not black. But the fact that Taylor is transgender is something that has made this also a hotbed of a controversial case from the beginning. I had one person on one side saying, you know, they were getting into it with me over yoga, and I get it. I know my dad turned me on to yoga years ago. I don't practice it anymore. In fact, I feel like the Lord led me to throw away this yoga mat I loved. It had all the positions on it. It was really cool. It was purple. I felt like, no, I don't want that in my house anymore, and I threw it away. And I don't practice yoga anymore. And so they had issues with that, and they also had issues with me calling Taylor she or her. Those are the pronouns I believe she might prefer. I've heard her mom and I believe her friend use those pronouns. I tend to use the pronouns of a person that they desire. Now, you can go down a whole rabbit hole of belief in this area. There's no way by me respecting a person's pronouns am I dissing God, or am I saying God made a mistake, or am I in any way trying to go against any Christian belief. So that was a whole thing with one person. And you will see people in the comments do this. They will insist on calling Taylor he. When I started researching this case, I thought Taylor was cisgender, born a female. I didn't know. And then I started, of course, doing my due diligence researching, and I found out, okay, she is transgender. And that's very important. I'm glad Taylor's mom finally brought that out. Some people believe it should have been brought out from the very beginning. Because on the other hand, I got another message from someone claiming to be Taylor's friend, claiming I outed Taylor as a transgender in my first video about Taylor. And I'm thinking, obviously I didn't. It was already online because during my research, I found out she was transgender, and this friend was claiming that I guess they were trying to keep that part quiet. I don't know why. Did they think fewer people would look for Taylor if they knew she was a transgender person? I think it should have been out there from the beginning, because like I replied to that person, if this is any kind of abduction or potential hate crime, maybe her being transgender played into it. I don't know. There's talk of these mystery men who were on the premises, and the ashram explains away who they are. However, I think it's important when you have a missing persons case to look at all aspects. Again, it could have been an accident. Like I said, maybe Taylor wandered too closely to the shoreline. Maybe it was late at night. Maybe she didn't respect the undertow. Who knows? Maybe she fell. I have no idea what happened. And maybe she was, who knows, trying to take selfies or videos or, pictures on the seashore. I don't know. Or maybe someone came along, started flirting with her. Women alone traveling have all these experiences. And did this person find out Taylor was transgender, and did they become enraged? Who knows? If we don't have the evidence, and the police commissioner, I respect that he says we're not going to stop, we're continuing to investigate, and I really hope that's true. Taylor did send photos of herself on the beach to her family on that Tuesday, June 18th. So we've seen her on that video, June 17th at the ashram, just being kind of shy and unsure, I believe, about leading that chant or whatever they were doing. And then she sent photos of herself on the beach the next day to family on June 18th. And then her mom texted her that Wednesday, June 19th, but didn't receive a response. And that's when Thursday, June 20th, Taylor didn't show up for yoga classes. And so it was like the search was kind of beginning. And thank God Brian Enton went down there on the premises. He tried to get more info. We've looked in the previous video. A different Bahamian reporter was told, well, we really don't want to disturb people back in the ashram. It's a period of quiet reflection and meditation, and we don't want reporters back there. I think it was a bad look, honestly, for the ashram. Not saying the ashram had anything to do with her disappearance. However, like her friend Emily said, look, Taylor paid thousands of dollars for this experience. I was thinking, I blame that Eat, Pray, Love. That Oprah-backed book we all read. Great writing and everything, but still, the whole point was this woman, great author too, but she kind of left her marriage or fiance, and she just went on this eat, pray, love trip, and one was eat in Italy, and one was to visit an ashram. And I noticed after that book gained such popularity, a lot of women were like, let me go off to an ashram and find myself, But like Emily said, Taylor paid a lot of money, thousands of dollars, to visit this ashram for whatever experience, deepen her teaching, deepen her yoga teaching, whatever she wanted, to become a teacher, to bring it back to Chicago. And it is kind of sad that her family feels not enough is being done to find her. But on the other hand, the police commissioner is saying, look, a dog picked up a scent from a tent and tracked it to the water, but that's where it ended. So that leads me to believe Taylor somehow ended up in the water. We just don't know how. And I wish we knew if she could swim. Can she swim at all? Of course, even the best swimmer is no match for a rough sea, of course, but still, these little details would help. 2 days later, on June 24th, is when search crews found Taylor's cell phone in the water. We had no idea it was that deep, 50 feet deep, but they could not access its contents. So unfortunately, they're not getting any data from her phone. Bahamian investigators even asked American authorities to try and get info from her phone, but they couldn't. Now, there have been photos released and certain videos a little bit here and there of when Colette flew down with others, and what bothered them is that Taylor's tent appeared as though it was not processed by authorities. If there's a potential crime scene in America, sometimes what you'll see is crime scene tape. You'll see things being blocked off, you'll see them bagging and tagging different effects and items and everything. I don't know if that was done here. It says, we saw Taylor's Bible. I'm so glad she had a Bible down there. Different books, her sketch pad, her paintings, affirmation cards, clothes, and toiletries. Indeed, I was like zooming up the pictures and I could see like oil or this or that. But the Facebook page Find Taylor Casey, I know another person emailed me and I was just like venting like, to follow up on this case. And I'm like, I really want to. I just hate the backlash and the controversy over all these elements of, whatever you believe about Casey. And some are so harsh. I feel like, I don't know, no matter what, as Christians, we are called to love. I believe God is love. As you can see, I don't focus on a lot of rules and regulations in my faith, but unfortunately, some people just have turned so harsh. I read through so many comments and some people just, I don't know, they take the hard line. They take the hard line, the Old Testament line, and they're just like, well, Taylor shouldn't have been doing whatever, blah, 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 and deserves what happened. And I'm just like, oh my goodness. I don't know. I just hate to see that type of attitude. So the Find Taylor Casey page created a video on July 4th weekend.
Hello everybody, and happy 4th of July. 4th of July is the time of year when Taylor would call me and say, hey Mom, what are we doing for the 4th of July? Let's plan it. I didn't get that call this year. Whew. It has been 2 weeks since my child has went missing. I have a picture in my bedroom of Taylor in the Air Force serving our country. This situation is a parent's worst nightmare.
Like others in the Taylor Casey community, I've just been heartsick these last 2 weeks. Taylor has always been the one who's been doing good and always pouring love into those young people who were coming into the Broadway Youth Center. She was a role model for them. Taylor's been giving love to this community ever since.
We cannot just be okay with Taylor going to the Bahamas and not coming home. We need your help.
So here's what you can do on this 4th of July. Call your elected representatives, get the FBI involved. An American citizen is missing.
Go to your elected officials in your area. Keep it relevant.
By contacting your senators, Durbin and Duckworth, and ask them to please send the FBI to the Bahamas immediately.
We need Taylor home, and we need the FBI to be involved in that investigation.
And if anyone has seen her, please let someone know.
As we eagerly wait to welcome Taylor home.
And life without Taylor has been a kick in the face.
Calling Taylor a veteran and youth worker who has served our country many times over, be of service to her now and demand the FBI lead the investigation. What's also troubling is this report from the Ashram yoga retreat, kind of going a bit too far in my opinion to just blame it on Taylor. Now, whereby they could be right, we have no idea. They're going to say how evidence suggests Taylor just left the ashram on her own, almost like, let's wash our hands of it. We can take her money, but if she disappears, not our fault. And I'm not saying it is their fault. It's just everyone needs a sensitivity chip, I believe, when it comes to a missing person and a mother's heartbreak. So the Ashram Yoga Retreat is saying, oh, evidence suggests she wasn't abducted from the site. She probably left the retreat voluntarily. They are actually claiming that Taylor's mom's comments are false and defamatory and not based on facts. Now, this Ashram, I didn't like the fact they used this guy with a consulting firm, obviously like some PR rep, not a lawyer, to start speaking out on their behalf. They're saying in this report from tribunemedia.net that Taylor's disappearance was discovered June 20th when she didn't show up for morning classes. She was last seen at the retreat late on the evening of June 19th. Her disappearance has attracted a lot of attention, and they start, glomming in on how Colette told NBC the retreat company didn't keep like a cohesive narrative regarding her daughter's disappearance, claiming that guests at the ashram were discouraged from talking to Colette and Emily. Now, this guy, Peter Goody, CEO of PGHR Consulting, said in a statement to the Tribune on behalf of the retreat company, quote, "We are concerned that the story infers that Taylor Casey was abducted from the ashram. That is false and defamatory and not based on facts. The tent photo in the NBC story taken by Taylor's family shows no signs of struggle. Her toothbrush and personal care products were in the tent in the photo, indicating she was going to return. Her passport, items of clothing, and purse were not in the tent photo, indicating she took them with her, along with her phone." First of all, just because you see no obvious signs of struggle does not mean a person was not abducted. If we're going to talk true crime here, if a person came in that tent and held a gun to Taylor's head and said, "Walk out right now or else I'm going to kill you," she may have walked out with the person. Now, again, there's so many different scenarios. Is that likely? Maybe not. But you can't say just because you see no signs of struggle, that means a person left voluntarily. In summary, it reads, "These facts, all of which are within the NBC story, indicate Taylor left voluntarily." So they're trying to hone it in that Taylor just left on her own. Again, they very well might be right. However, it's not positively indicative of Taylor leaving voluntarily. We also wish to point out that Taylor's phone pinged in the water as tracked on her niece's iPhone app. There was no indication from that evidence she was abducted as you reported. Now, I don't think NBC reported Taylor was abducted. I believe what every press report I've read has simply gone over scenarios. Okay, potentially she could have been abducted, just as potentially she could have accidentally walked into the water and ended up taken away. Who knows? A simple question to the family regarding the iPhone tracking as to her whereabouts would have been a prudent inquiry. I have no idea what they mean by that. A simple question to the family regarding the iPhone tracking as to her whereabouts would have been a prudent inquiry? What does that mean? It's almost like just a diss. A prudent inquiry would have been a simple question to the family regarding the iPhone tracking. I don't know. If you're dealing with like a grieving, heartbroken mother here, I don't know why make flippant remarks. Because the ashram, of course, is concerned about visitors still coming, paying thousands of dollars and collecting that revenue each month, I'm sure. They don't want anyone to think it's a dangerous place, and maybe it isn't. It's only a level 2 in the Bahamas. I mean, I still have a trip planned to different Bahamas locations next year. Should I cancel it or not? I don't know. I'll let the Lord lead me. Let Jesus lead you. The police found the phone based on that app. This is all public information. The beach in front of the ashram is a public beach. The photos in the NBC story show the beach. There are non-guests and members of the public that walk along that beach daily. Okay, so what are they saying? Anyone in the public could have taken her or gone with her or what? The statement Taylor's family and friends sent to NBC claimed a retreat participant recalled that an unidentified man in a Celtics cap who claimed to be from Chicago approached Taylor and followed her onto the compound, expressing interest in yoga classes. The retreat said it followed up with that participant, and that person said they made a mistake identifying the man. The man is from Atlanta and was staying next door at the Atlantis Resort. This is what Mr. Goody said. He was simply taking a stroll on the beach and was interested in knowing more about our yoga classes. We often have inquiries about the yoga retreat from the guests at Atlantis. So the person made a mistake in what regard, saying he was from Chicago, just like Taylor, when he was actually from Atlanta. Okay, so who was that guy? And there's another guy. The other individual described in your report was holding a walkie-talkie, and our best guess is that he is a security guard for one of our neighbors. He entered the ashram about 2 p.m., a time when our students were in class, and stayed for a couple of minutes and left. So they really don't know who that guy was. Mr. Goody said the retreat company spent hours with police as officers explained the full extent of their investigation to the family and let the family just see a whole bunch of stuff. The company says it spent hours answering the family's questions. I hope the ashram really did spend hours answering any questions the family had. Like some commenters say, this ashram seems to be reacting in a defensive manner. Even if there is no evidence that Taylor was abducted, it doesn't mean they have evidence to rule it out. The cops have to literally say, okay, what evidence do we have? Only if and when they find Taylor, and for example, let's see if all evidence leads to, heaven forbid, an accidental drowning with no foul play. That's a great possibility, unfortunately. Then you could say, okay, we can rule out an abduction, but before that, we don't really know. The yoga retreat has put out their own statement about being distraught over Taylor's disappearance and everything, and they talk about how Taylor's mom and friend expressed gratitude for their support. Now, this is where Taylor's mom said, look, I was being polite because my mom taught me to say please and thank you, but that doesn't mean I was pleased. And even Taylor's mom and friend departing the Bahamas and going back to Chicago, feeling like their own lives could have been in danger, was something they mentioned. But basically, Taylor's family is asking for support. You know, they want this story to stay out there. They have this whole press report out there. They're saying only the area between the Ashram Yoga Retreat and Atlantis were searched, according to police. They want to see more about the CCTV footage at the Atlantis. Now, even though the ashram, as I understand it, doesn't really have a lot of video, if any security video, which would be kind of weird, but even if they don't, if that's true, if they don't have any, Colette said, I believe that Taylor's phone may have more information, but unfortunately they can't obviously retrieve it. But the police also informed Taylor's team, basically, that Atlantis security were the ones who reviewed any CCTV footage. So Emily said, we were told that a description of Taylor was provided to the Atlantis security and that they were the ones who reviewed CCTV footage. What we took this to mean is that the detectives themselves did not review this footage. So did people, Atlantis employees were the only ones who reviewed the footage? And I know it can be a lot reviewing video footage. Did the detectives review the footage at all? So again, these two mystery men, you know, one who allegedly was an Atlantis guest from Atlanta, just curious about a yoga retreat, following Taylor onto the premises. What happened there? I don't know. And what happened with the guy with the walkie-talkie? Is it, you know, just coincidental, has nothing to do with anything, or what? But there is a woman who is being more vocal on Facebook and different places, Beth Shaw. She said, previously, I just returned from a 3-day retreat at the ashram and found so many things strange. I 100% agree with you, she wrote. No one was talking. I got reprimanded by the Swami for asking questions as I write articles for yoga magazines. And she's the founder of a school that runs retreats and conferences all around the world, including India. She said, I found it very strange. Group dynamics are such that people in these retreats bond very quickly and become friends and confidants. I was asking some questions, got questioned by the head Swami on my way out. I also believe that if a participant is struggling, it's the responsibility of the teachers, and perhaps in this case the Swami, to check in with those students, be aware of their psychology. There's a lot more to tell. She didn't see any pictures of Taylor. There was just some small black and white typed note on the bulletin board, along with at least 12 pages of information on retreat events that they were having. It was basically buried at the bottom of a bulletin board with no photo. I don't know what initially it said. Did it just say Taylor Casey missing? It was just a little printout buried on the bottom of some bulletin board. And again, Brian Enton had a tweet that said, the ashram emailed me this morning asking me not to come back. It says, I should point out that the ashram is a place of meditation and learning, and visits by reporters will be disruptive for our guests and interrupt our teaching. As a result, we are not allowing reporters to visit. I mean, that's just foul. Let me tell you, if a person spends thousands of dollars, let's say thousands upon thousands, to go visit Atlantis, Paradise Island, and that person mysteriously goes missing from that hotel. And of course, reporters glom onto the story and they want to know what happened to this missing woman, for example. Now, it would look pretty bad if the Atlantis would say, oh, we don't really want any reporters here questioning what happened to our guest. And, our guests are just here trying to chill by the pool, have a daiquiri. We don't want to be bothered with your missing daughter. And that's how it's coming off, the Ashram's response. Whether they believe it or not, that's how it's coming off. And it was just, they needed better crisis management, let me tell you. Nothing defamatory, nothing slanderous being said here or by Taylor's mom. It's just the heart of the matter. The heart of the matter is that, oh my goodness, yes, our guests paid thousands to be here and we care about our guests. And yes, police, process this tent. Please, do whatever you can. DNA collections, fingerprints, photographs, videos, whatever you have to do. Question our guests, the ones who want to be talked to. That's what they claim they did. Whatever guests wanted to speak, could speak. But, you put the meditation and chanting and teaching aside for a second to prove that you care about a human soul more than anything. And it's really sad that some people are commenting, I wouldn't want my vacation disrupted either. I mean, oh my goodness. Heaven forbid if I went on a vacation, on a cruise or something, or, if I went to wherever, the Bahamas or somewhere, if there's a missing person, I believe my instinct would be, let me help look for her. Maybe it's just because I'm in true crime or something, but you'd put your relaxing and meditation aside for a second to show you care about a human soul, a living being, a human soul, whether they're transgender or not or whatever. I just look at Taylor as a human soul that's missing, and it's just sad. So, I don't know. I really hope her mom can get some closure and her friend can get some closure. We'll just keep up with this case. Mark 10:29, truly I tell you, Jesus replied, no one who has left home or brothers or sisters or mother or father or children or fields for my sake and for the gospel will fail to receive 100-fold in the present age, houses and brothers and sisters and mothers and children and fields, along with persecutions, and in the age to come, eternal life. I'll tell you what, the one thing that did my heart good was the fact that Taylor had a Bible down there with her. And I know we can get all into legalism and semantics and theology and everything, and to me, it's just encapsulated in love our neighbor as ourselves. God doesn't want anyone to perish. Let's just think about the person, and controversy aside. That's why a lot of people wish they would have known more about the case initially. But I tell you what, it is sort of a stain on this Ashram, their response. I'm not saying they had anything to do with it. Again, a lot of times the most obvious thing is what it is. It might not be some elaborate plot of some person coming and, they said they could hear Taylor zipping and unzipping her tent. I believe that night they believe it was her, but witnesses did not see her. She might have late that night, June 19th, unzipped her tent. She had been there, a couple of weeks at least already, maybe more than 2 weeks, and decided, let me just take a little walk on the beach, or I don't know what happened. I pray for answers, but to me it's sad to see the controversy, it's sad to see the backlash, and it's really sad to see people making these flippant comments, not looking past all the controversy to just care about a human soul that's missing. So thank you so much for watching. We'll see what happens. You just pray for answers, especially for Taylor's mom and friends and loved ones. Thanks for watching. I've also linked to an interesting new article below by Travel Noir. It's titled The Best Friend of Missing Woman in the Bahamas describes her as loving, urges authorities to do more to find her. So you can find the link below. This is Jessica Savano. I guess she's a travel vlogger and she's on YouTube and everything, but she has a very interesting theory. She's not blaming the Ashram, of course. She's saying it's $1 million business. They have centers all over the world. They're not going to harm somebody. She has an interesting theory that Taylor's identity may have played a role in her disappearance, and the fact that it was Juneteenth. Taylor was apparently telling Savano The yoga program was really intense. So Savano said, knowing her and her telling me how intense this program was, I thought maybe since it was Juneteenth, she was probably going out for a little bit and went out to this party. Maybe someone drugged her, threw the phone in the ocean and took her somewhere. Where? I don't know. Is she alive? I hope so. So that's quite an interesting theory. But Savano does not think the Bahamian authorities have done enough to locate Taylor, and she is frustrated from the comments on social media talking about Taylor. She says when you see people commenting on her looks and saying, "That's a man," it's hurtful to me, and her family reading that. She's more than that. She surpassed gender. She's a spiritual being and comfortable with who she is. It's an interesting article where Savano is calling Taylor one of a kind, and she was a really encouraging, kind person. Taylor's birthday is approaching. On July 11th, she will be 42. Jessica calls Taylor so nerdy and innocent. How can anyone harm her? I just don't understand it. Jessica talks about her deep friendship with Taylor. The fact that Taylor is missing definitely hits home with Savano since she is a solo traveler who travels the world alone as a woman, as an American. She said, "You cannot trust anybody. No one is your friend." So they list the number to the Royal Bahamas Police Force, and I'm sure she really wants her beautiful friend found.